a lot happening in college football and, well, just around sports as well as the college football playoffs start this week. We're going to talk about some of those games real quick. Johnston, I'm actually going to let you pick which game we start first, and that'll set the tone. So out of the first four first round games, which one would you like to talk about first?
Well, I think it's fair to say that we're going to start with the opener. I'm pretty shocked at the line here. You see that Alabama opened as a favorite, and then flipping all the way a 3 points flip there.
Favorite, by the way, convenient because a favorite person of mine. Good to see you as well. Our first episode.
Let's go
here on the right now named Jon and Trent show because we couldn't think of a better name, but we're gonna figure it out. But Alabama and Oklahoma, a 1.5 point favorite for the Alabama Crimson Tide. They have lost the last two matchups with Oklahoma. Of course, lost 23-21 in Tuscaloosa just a few weeks ago, where they turned it over 3 times and missed a field goal. So, got to think if you're Alabama, you probably should have won that game. But Oklahoma is thinking they have Alabama's number, Johnston.
Yeah, I think you got to feel good coming in if you're Alabama because you played your worst game of the year. At least in my opinion, the worst game of the year. Starting slow. We saw what happened last year when you do that. You can't turn the ball over and have to play catch up, especially those style teams like Vanderbilt last year that runs that option offense and kind of keeps it away from you. Oklahoma, that the defense that kind of leans on you, and if they get a lead, I mean, they know what you're doing, and Brent Venables is one of the best at picking up plays and preparing for that. So
yeah. Kiffin talked about how Ole Miss wouldn't show their play until 15 seconds left on the play clock because the audio would shut off in the device, the green dots helmets, and he knew Brent Venables is so good at recognizing offensive sets. So one of the best defensive minds in the country, and he's owned Alabama. Coach DeBoer and the Crimson Tide have not done well against Oklahoma. And last year when they went to Oklahoma, this game's in Norman. It's a pretty ugly game. So got to be worried about that. Going to have a home crowd, a first-time home playoff crowd. Only 2 years they've had home playoff games, to be fair. But first time Norman, Oklahoma will host a playoff game. So I imagine a pretty raucous environment over there in Oklahoma.
Yeah, you talked about the 15-second thing, and I think that is something that Alabama may struggle with in the sense that you see Ty Simpson come to the line. He's checking almost every single snap. And they're doing that strategically. They want to get a shift so that the defense can't communicate. But at the same time, that we run into those issues of the communication, and that's caused the delay of game issues and not everybody being on the same page on the offensive side of the ball for Alabama. But all in all, it's hard to beat a team twice, and I think you got to feel good as Alabama playing your worst game of the year and only losing by 2 points.
Yeah, 2 things. One, first episode, I forgot that the ticker I created was a thing. Just put it up there. So now we have Alabama, Oklahoma on the screen. Probably could put more details, but I'll figure it out as I go.
Hey, it's our first one. Let's do it.
I like what you mentioned because I had a stat for you. You said it's hard to beat a team twice in the same season. Did you know that there's only been one time in Alabama history that a team has beaten them twice in the same season?
I saw this stat.
Can you name the year? Can you name the year and can you name the team?
I'm cheating. Somebody sent me this today, and I was like, I'm not saying anything because I know better. I'm going to take the high road if we lose. But is it 1893?
It is 1893, correct. I'm disappointed you actually didn't answer. It's such a crazy stat from Blake Byler, who is the one who posted it on Twitter. So
yeah, did you see the team name?
Do you remember the team?
Yeah, I was there actually.
You were?
I don't remember. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and tell us, Trent. What's the
Birmingham Athletic Club in Alabama's second football season. So would be the first time in, 132 years if Oklahoma beats Alabama that a team has beaten the Crimson Tide twice. I don't even know if they called them the Crimson Tide back in 1893.
Probably didn't.
But would be a historical moment. It's going to be a big moment for either team because Oklahoma gets, their first home playoff win. Is it maybe their first playoff win in general? I know they've made the playoffs, but I believe they lost that one year. Wasn't it? Was that the Baker Mayfield year where it was like the shootout way back in the day?
Georgia.
It was against Georgia, right? That was the year Bama beat Georgia.
Hmm.
in the national championship game. So I don't think Oklahoma's ever actually won a playoff game. So it'd be a big moment. And then for Coach Kalen DeBoer, it'd be Bama's several. They've had several playoff wins, but for Coach DeBoer, his first win in his era there, and I think that would be a big deal. Also, according to some people, it would mean he would not take the Michigan job if he wins this game, because some people believe if he loses, he's leaving for Michigan. I don't believe that. I don't know if you want to add anything before we move on
Yeah,
here.
I think it would be borderline career suicide to leave in the success that he's had. And I know Alabama fans, we live in the state of Alabama, so we understand the perspective.
Mhm.
But there's some teams that would kill for 10-3. Auburn is waving and saying hi, but I believe that DeBoer understands that he's in a great spot, and the only way he's
Mhm.
leaving is if he's getting run out.
Yeah, and I do think he can't go 10-3 forever. Don't get me wrong.
Correct. I
I
agree.
do. I think in 26 and 27 with the roster you're building, he's got to win a little more. And I say that that's very, I don't know the right word, selfish of me to say, but I think it's true. He'll have to win a little more. But right now, I don't see an issue with it. You're replacing the greatest coach of all time, one of the best cultures ever created. I mean, I like that they didn't go get just a Saban disciple. They went and got someone who is his own guy, and he's having to replace the culture there as well. And that's a lengthy process. So I guess if he does leave, we'll have a segment for our second or third episode if Alabama were to lose to Oklahoma. But quickly, who do you have winning the game before we go to the next one? If you wanted
I
to play
think
against the spread, you can, or you can just pick the game.
um, I think Alabama wins and covers. I think if this game was the first matchup of the year, I probably wouldn't lean that way, just for the sole fact that Alabama has not played well since October against Tennessee, in my opinion, especially on offense. Defensively, we've looked pretty stout, but just not setting ourselves up for success on offense. But with it being the second matchup of the year, it's just hard to beat a good team twice, and it hasn't been done at Alabama since 1893. So I think the Tide covers and wins the game and moves on.
I am with you picking Alabama and covering because it's only 1.5 points. I don't see a 1 point game. So maybe I'm wrong. That'd probably be fun for everyone else. It would not be a very fun night. It would be fun maybe, but it would be very stressful. So I'm
Yeah, I
picking
don't know if I
Bama.
want it.
So that means we both have Bama playing Indiana. We'll talk about that later. Let's move on. I'm going to take the second game that is, I definitely worded this weird, but second game against a non-G5 opponent. So that is going to be the Miami Texas A&M game. This is the last team in Miami, and then Texas A&M, who was the lowest ranked one-loss team, the team that almost made the SEC championship game, lost to Texas. I think they're very similar profile teams. I don't know if you've got the spread pulled up for that game. I think A&M's a 4.5, 5 point favorite. Am I right?
It's 3.5 right now.
3.5. Okay, so 3.5 point favorite there. I think they're very similar teams that want to play good defense. That's a different from Miami in a year ago, that where they did not have a defense for Cam Ward. If they had this defense last year, they might have been a bigger threat in the playoff picture because you had Cam Ward. But two good defenses. They like to run the ball. It's really just going to be which quarterback I think comes to play in this game between Carson Beck and then Marcel Reed.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're any other fan besides a Hurricane fan in this bracket, I think you should be a little bit nervous. They're one of those teams. They might lose to a team they shouldn't lose to, but I believe that unfortunately Miami can beat any team in this bracket at any one game stand. And for the sense of Texas A&M and the quarterback thing, the quarterback battle you're talking about, Marcel Reed's got to get going in the +1 run game. You know, they want to run zone read 12, 15 times a game. And Miami knows that. And if they don't get that going, I think it's going to be a long night for the Aggies, personally.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's in College Station, so at Kyle Field. That's a fun environment in general. It's an 11 o'clock kickoff for us Central Time. That's the noon Eastern slot. So you don't get a night game there, but I imagine it's still going to be a pretty fun environment to be at between those two. And I think this could be the best game of the first round. I think there's only, well, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But I think this is potentially could be the game of the first round between these two. I think if you're Mario Cristobal, this is a big win that he needs, honestly. I was going to pose this question later, and I will save it for later, but just a little foreshadowing. I think Cristobal really needs this win. Maybe not needs it, but I think it would be a big boost for his career. Mike Elko, not only would it would give him a big boost, don't get me wrong, because you're winning a playoff game, but I think what he's done in his early tenure at College Station is pretty much speaking for itself currently. Now he'll get to the point where if he doesn't get a playoff win, yes, that would become a question. You can go ahead and get out ahead of that, but I think for Miami, it's a program defining win if they're actually going to be back. Kind of how you always hear Texas is back. Miami has also been in that similar boat. Where have they actually been back in a while? It's like they've trended upward, but are they truly back?
Yeah, I agree with you. And the thing with the Mike Elko thing, that extension would look really suspect had he lost to that South Carolina team. Right when they were talking about it, and then he comes back and wins that game. I know that was a breath of fresh air for him.
I told you, by the way, at halftime of that game that Texas A&M was going to make a comeback and make it close. I didn't think they would be leading in the fourth quarter as long as they were, but I did tell you, and you got very upset with me when I was right.
I was like, "There's no shot," and then I was wrong. Imagine that.
I just fully expected South Carolina to do it the way they were acting during that game. Old coach,
they were playing scared the whole way.
They were playing not to lose in the second half for sure, but they didn't make a bowl game, so we don't have to talk about them too long.
Yeah.
Miami, I want to quickly just jump into this one before we talk about it. Miami made the playoffs because they kicked out Notre Dame, and I want to talk about this team real quick. Our thoughts on Notre Dame has a new rule that it was agreed upon last year, but it didn't go into effect until this year, and it's, from what I'm reading, a 6-year agreement. If the playoffs stay at 12 teams and they are ranked inside the top 12, they will get a bid into the conference football playoffs. That does not include one of the 5 conference bids. They just get automatically placed in. If the playoffs expands to 14 and they're ranked inside the top 13, they make the playoffs. So they would bump out the last at-large team. That means the committee would have finally jumped Miami over Notre Dame in this situation, but Notre Dame would actually bump Miami back out because Miami is the last at-large team. I have thoughts on what probably would have happened if this rule is in effect, but what are your thoughts first on this rule for Notre Dame?
Well, what you're talking about with what would have happened, I think the system explodes. I mean, you can't have a head-to-head matchup just be ignored in that situation. And I think the committee should have never had them ranked ahead. I understand that there was somebody in between, but they kind of set themselves up for failure, and that caused the ruckus with Notre Dame. But my question is, I don't understand why was this agreed upon last year? They made a run last year. I just don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, if they saw this coming, like, they know, and the talk or the power heads at Notre Dame have to understand that they're putting themselves at risk in that sense for not playing in a conference. But at the same time, they're protected because they play a group of 5 schedule at best, and then they go, if they go 10-2, they're in.
Yeah, an average of 5 ACC teams a year there. But other than that, it's not a guaranteed 5 teams, to be clear. It's an average of 5 teams. So one year it might be 4, one year it might be 6 ACC schools, which with the ACC's schedule next year, which is so weird, 5 teams played 8 conference schedules. The rest play 9. I'm sure Notre Dame's going to factor into that. But like you said, they can play a softer schedule. I think this rule makes it easy for them not to join a conference. I don't think they have been considering that, to be honest with you, in football. But it makes it easier for them not to right now. I will say I think it's brilliant by Notre Dame from their standpoint. I would be, if I was a Notre Dame fan, I'd be all for it. I think it's like top-notch deal for them. Why wouldn't you? You're guaranteed a playoff spot if you're ranked in the top 12. And the committee, for the most part, through 2 years, has shown that if you win 11 or 10 games, you're going to be ranked inside the top 10. Strength of schedule isn't factored in that much. It might make a difference between 1 or 2 spots, but if Notre Dame wins 10 games a year, I imagine this means they're in the playoffs, unless there's a crazy year where there's a bunch of 11-1 and 10-2 teams. what I think would have happened if this rule was in effect, one of two things would happen. Either BYU would not have been punished in their conference championship game because that would have kept Miami behind them, meaning they didn't have to factor in the head-to-head. So that way they don't have to justify Notre Dame bumping someone out. Or the probably chaos scenario is Miami jumps Alabama, meaning Alabama's the last at-large team, and Notre Dame bumps Alabama in that situation. I think one of those two happens. I don't see them bumping Miami in this situation. Now, hopefully we don't. Well, I say hopefully. I kind of would like to see the chaos if it happened. But I don't think they would have. If it happened this year, if this rule is in effect, I don't think they would have set it up to where head-to-head finally matters. We're ranking Miami over Notre Dame, but this clause in Notre Dame's contract or with the playoffs means Miami now gets bumped back out. That's what I think would have happened.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that they understand the truth is if Alabama, a team like Alabama, losing their conference title game, embarrassing performance, if they get bumped out, they understand that the Greg Sankey crash out is coming, and there will be no more SEC championship game. Millions of dollars is lost, and I mean, I hate to say it. And I'm advocating for BYU. Either don't rank them in the top 12 before the conference title game, or you got to put them in. If you're not going to punish one conference, you can't do it for the other if that is your precedent. Once again, the committee has failed to be consistent, in my opinion, with their criteria. But nevertheless, I think you're setting yourself up for failure and the system up for failure when you do stuff like that. That's where I stand.
I'm with you, and I think the committee has been inconsistent. I have a theory as well that the committee is actually just using a computer system to help rank, and they're saying they're debating in these rooms. They're really not. They might change one or two things up. It's like, well, there's no way. I'm just making this up. Alabama can be ranked over Notre Dame right now. We got Alabama's not running the ball well. There's that joke.
Did you see the thing last year where they had 47 TVs set up, and I'm like, you're not watching any of these games.
I think they have a computer do like 90% of the work, and then they might change it up one or two spots. But anyways, back to the task at hand. I realize this is my fault as the person who controlled the segment here.
Hey, this is conversation. We're just following.
We never picked the Miami Texas A&M game, so that's my fault. You can go first. Who do you have winning, Miami or Texas A&M? You can, like I said, once again, if you want to pick against the spread, you can. If you just want to pick it straight up, and if you want to give a reason why, or you can just pick the game.
Yeah, I think I struggle with Texas A&M's lack of being battle tested. I think that their main test late in the year they failed. I think Miami's a scary team. Texas A&M to me seems one-dimensional. I think it's a good matchup for Miami, and I think Miami covering the 3.5 underdog line, I think is an absolute lock, and I think that they actually win the game outright. I have Miami upsetting the Aggies and putting them out and advancing.
Yeah, so you have Miami over A&M.
Correct.
All right, I was trying to find the stat. I was trying to buy the time, and I couldn't find it. I was going to list A&M's SEC schedule and who they played in the order they played them in.
Let's do it.
But I don't have it apparently. But it was pretty bad. They played like 16, 15, 14, whatever. It was a really weak schedule in the SEC. And I think 5 of the 12 games they played, they either played a coach that got fired or was already fired. A team, I should say, that fired their coach or were going to fire their coach. So
I have it pulled up right here. We have the SEC teams that they played. Obviously, went over Notre Dame. Big deal. They played Auburn at home, Mississippi State at home, Florida at home, which is a nightmare in itself. I want to talk about them eventually in an upcoming podcast.
For sure.
At Arkansas, who couldn't stop a cold if they wanted to.
No.
LSU, who was an imploding program.
That was their second toughest SEC game.
And they won 49-25 to a team who had already lost their pulse. Missouri, at Missouri.
Without Missouri's starting quarterback.
Correct. And South Carolina should have got beat, but Shane Beamer, the moment got too big for him. And then the one game that I feel like they were tested in Austin, and then they fall short.
Yeah, so like a weak schedule. Their toughest SEC game was Texas. They lost. Their second was like LSU or Missouri, debatable which one it is. And then, just not a strong schedule. So that makes me want to pick Texas A&M to beat Miami. I know, I know. I said it all up. I'm picking Texas A&M. I don't
You
have a
got
good
me.
feel for the game, honestly. I'm just taking College Station there. Honestly, the fan, whether you like the yell leaders or shout leaders, whatever they're called, or not, um, I think home field will win, and I think it's gonna be a close game. I'll be fun there. I think A&M wins, but they don't cover the 3.5, so they win by 3 or less. Uh, so that'll be a fun one. They will play Ohio State. So now let's move on.
Good luck.
You want Tulane, Ole Miss, or do you want Oregon, James Madison?
Well, this is going to explain what I'm about to talk about for 10 minutes, but I don't want either of them.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
that.
Tulane, Ole Miss. So this is a game that already happened this year, and Ole Miss won. It was at Ole Miss, 45-10. Of course, Lane Kiffin was the head coach. He's not the head coach anymore at Ole Miss. He's the head coach at Louisiana State University. Pete Golding elevated to head coach.
Did Lane Kiffin, did he throw any touchdown passes this year?
He did not.
Did he wasn't wearing a helmet and wearing pads?
He wasn't.
Okay. All right. I was making sure.
Oh.
That's what seemed as the narrative has been. So I was just wondering.
Okay.
I was making sure on that.
So I think we know. I don't know if we really need to delay the picks on this game. I'm taking Ole Miss in this situation. I will say I think if one of the two G5 teams were to upset a team, I would take Tulane before I took James Madison, to be honest with you. I'm picking Ole Miss to win this game. I think the big story for me here is Ole Miss. What do they look like without Kiffin? I know you just made a great argument that he's not playing the game, but what does Pete Golding look like as the permanent head coach? Just to be clear, not the interim, the permanent head coach in their first year. And does this team rally behind all the drama? And do they get hot? Because I think if this team gets hot, they could win a national title. I think they need breaks to go their way. I wouldn't. They're not probably in my top 4 or 5 teams that could win a national title. I think they could win it though if they get hot. Or does all the drama and off the field stuff distract them? Do they struggle with Tulane? And then even if they win, do they walk into New Orleans against a Georgia team and don't put up a fight? I think this game against Tulane gives us an idea.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss can match up well with anybody. I mean, the Lane came up to a quarterback battle situation. Fans were screaming Austin Simmons' name, and then Trinidad Chambliss comes in and lights it up. Right. So I think he's playing better than, just as good, if not better than any quarterback in the country. And of course, the Lane Kiffin saga has taken away the attention from what this Ole Miss team is doing, and that's sad, and that's on Lane. We don't have to get into that today. We can, but we don't have to. That's an absolute joke, in my opinion. But the players deserve their props and how hot they're playing, how good they're playing. Trinidad Chambliss is hot, and Kewan Lacey is an absolute dog. I think Ole Miss wins this game, comfortably, and I wouldn't want to see them. I know that.
Yeah. I guess a quick question, because I know you have a topic about the G5 in general, so I'm going to move to the next game. But just quick question, because you brought up Trinidad Chambliss. I saw someone mention where they would, if they were drafting the quarterbacks in this playoff, where they would draft them. Out of the 12 starting quarterbacks, where would you rank him out of the 12? I know something. I will just point out there. Somebody said, the person who brought this up said they would take him first, which I didn't agree with, but I understood.
So repeat that. I know it's bad podcasting,
so
but repeat that again.
If you're drafting, it's not bad podcasting. You're being clear. There's 12 quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks. If you were to rank those 12 quarterbacks, if you were to draft them, however you want to view it, what quarterback would you want out of all 12? Like, if you could redraft all these teams, would you want Fernando Mendoza? Would you want Julian Sayin? Do you want Ty Simpson? Or do you want Trinidad Chambliss, Gunnar Stockton, before our Georgia friends get mad that I didn't mention his name?
Shut up, Ben.
And JJ, or Coach Jacobs, Father Jacobs. But Where would you rank Trinidad Chambliss is what I'm saying. So the person I saw pose this question said they would put him either first or second, and I did not agree with him being first, but I do like Trinidad Chambliss. I will say I would, if I were taking quarterbacks, I would take Fernando Mendoza out of everybody in this playoff. I think it's higher than you would probably realize once you start thinking about it.
I think if you ask me early in the year, okay, let me rephrase that. From a tool belt talent perspective, he would not be high on my list, but I think he's playing better. I think I would take him one right now. I think I would. I think he's playing just as good or better than anybody in the country right now. He has his moments, but he's dynamic with his legs, and I know that we call dual threat quarterbacks some quarterbacks that are just runners, but we call them dual threat. He's a genuine dual threat, and
I agree.
And, man, I wouldn't want to see him.
I don't know where I'd rank him. I would pick Mendoza first. I think Julian Sayin is pretty good. I just know there's always that worry is like, am I overthinking the weapons he has? But he's also got like an 80% completion percentage. So
yeah. One thing I like about
go ahead.
One thing I like about Chambliss is his experience. And I know that he hasn't played in the SEC or in the Power Four, but I mean he's won a D2 national title. There's really good teams in D2. There's just less of them, and you still got to play good players to win. I think that helps him.
Yeah, I think he's a very gritty player, and I also think he's very appreciative of this opportunity he was given. So I'm a very big Trinidad Chambliss fan. Let's move on to the last game, the James Madison Oregon game. I'm picking Oregon. I'm not going to pretend. I have Oregon playing Tech. I am worried this game is a exhibition in the second half, and Oregon's trying out, backup players at that time. I think that's a real risk here. No offense to James Madison. You win 11 games. It was a weak schedule. Their best opponent was Louisville, and they lost that game by 7 or 10, I believe. And Louisville's probably a top 40 team in the country. And then the next toughest game was Old Dominion, arguably. It's still 11 wins. Your coach is leaving for UCLA. How locked in is he? I think he's a good coach. But you're playing in Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon. I don't view it as much of a chance. I will say if James Madison's in this game in the fourth quarter, it'll be fun, but I think there are going to be some really bad faith arguments taking place if that is the case. But I know you have something you want to say about the G5 inclusion, it sounds like. So go ahead.
Yeah. I think that this exposed the system and the flaw, and I just know that the committee was together praying like, please do not let Virginia lose this football game.
Yeah.
But here we are. I mean, that's why I picked Virginia. I was like, man, there might be some Vegas calling going on.
It would have been because Virginia would have probably played Ole Miss, and Tulane would have played Oregon. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Virginia is a very great football team. I think they skate by a lot of games. Like they beat North Carolina by the slimmest of margins on a replay, like half an inch for it being a 2-point conversion in overtime. Or it might have been just been a touchdown. I can't remember. But point being. But yeah, I'm with you. I think that everybody, the committee and all the TV execs are praying Virginia wins. But they didn't. And now we have 2 G5 teams in because it's the top 5 highest conference ranked or conference champions. And that was James Madison, Tulane. I will say there's a lot of debate on should a G5 team, can we just give the top 12 teams? You can't do that. I understand why we think it, and I understand the thought, and I don't necessarily disagree. But if you were to take out a G5 team and say they don't get an auto bid and you're cutting out the finances from them, they would sue so quickly. And you'd probably lose. So you got to include one until there's something justifiable for them to play for, whether that's a G5 playoff of their own or it's whatever it is. I don't know. But you got to have at least one G5 team in. But I do think in year 2, there was issue. There's concerns that there's now 2 G5 teams in the playoffs. And it could get ugly in both.
That's and I understand the G5 perspective because I do think it's hard to see how good a G5 team is because of who they play. And that's my argument against That's actually my argument against non-conference games, in my opinion. I'm not necessarily worried about them beating up on each other because it's good TV. Everybody wants to watch Alabama versus Ole Miss. Nobody wants to watch Alabama versus Mercer. That my argument against non-conference games is that you really can't tell how good everyone is, right? So if my alma mater, Ramburn High School, plays a 2A schedule and they go undefeated, I can't say, oh, well, they're better than Thompson because they're undefeated and Thompson's not. No, they play in a different league. And that's why I think we need non-conference matchups so that we can have like a metric, like, okay, who it's not going to be perfect, but okay, we can see a comparison of, okay, these teams are beating these teams and they're not playing in the same league, and that kind of helps us in the national rankings. But all in all, with the group of 5 thing, Cincinnati a few years back in the 4 team, they got in. I would be absolutely 100% advocating for Cincinnati in this playoff to get in, obviously, because they were a dominant G5 team. I think you need to do that. But it's a tricky situation, and it just showed the flaw in the system, and that it's coming. It's not going to stand much longer.
I don't know what the situation is going to change to. I am with you in the idea. I do think there's going to be some kind of change eventually. I wonder if it's just going to be a playoff change, or if there's going to be like even maybe a collective bargaining agreement in college football eventually. We don't have time to talk about that today because that is a whole can of worms. I'm actually switching my idea on that, though, by the way, and whether I kind of like a CBA in college sports. I was kind of against it, but the more I think about it, the more I'm kind of starting to like the idea if it's done right. But maybe that's another topic for our next show or two, because I think it's a real possibility. But you're taking Oregon in this game. Right? You're not taking the upset.
I am taking the Ducks. I'm taking the Ducks.
Perfect.
So Ducks.
So just to recap, you took Oregon over James Madison, as did I. We both took Ole Miss over Tulane. We both picked Alabama over Oklahoma. Maybe a little biased because we're Bama fans. The only difference we had is you took Miami, I took Texas A&M in the first round. We are going to pick the whole bracket at the end of the show. We're going to quickly talk about a few other news items, starting with one of the craziest 36 hours, 48. I don't know how long it went, but the Michigan coaching search with Sharon Moore got weirder by the day. It's still getting weirder by the day. Every day it comes out and there's a little more to the details. I don't know if we should talk about the full details. You can
probably not.
Let's just say there was extracurricular activities taking place in the facility. And it has led to Michigan needing a new head coach. Depending on who you trust and believe, some people believe that they knew about it and they waited until after signing day to make the decision. Some people believe they just made the decision when it was told. Some people say it was a DoorDash driver that had turned them in. I have no idea. But what do you have? You had your hand raised.
If they beat Ohio State, no one knows about it.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Not that I agree with the ethics, the morality of it, but I do wonder if you're wrong. I saw some people say if he went 8-4, they were going to let him go because of this situation, which kind of leads to the point of, so if he just kept winning games, you were not going to fire him, but you knew about it. I feel like it's probably hard that people didn't know about it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like people probably knew about it and they were like turning an eye. And then it got to the point where he got rough around the building.
My understanding is that they had sources on this that were having meetings about this since August.
Yeah. And so here's the thing about Sharon Moore, and then we'll talk about a couple candidates. I don't know if Michigan was like long-term committed to him anyways, because when Harbaugh left for the NFL, there was the potential what's coming in terms of sanctions and penalties. Didn't end up being a whole lot, really. Even Moore got to pick the 2 games he was suspended for. But I do think Michigan a slap on the wrist. Good for Michigan. They won a championship because of it. But I do think Michigan kind of was like, we'll promote a guy who was on the staff when we won a national title. And in a couple years, depending on how bad these sanctions are, we'll let Moore kind of wear it, and then we'll find the next guy. And then it turned out Moore got into trouble as well. And I didn't take the ticker off there. There we go. But yeah, I think it's an interesting. I don't know what your thoughts on Moore was. I think he was a transitional coach, anyways, for him. Essentially, that's how I viewed him. They were going to give him a shot. If he won, they would keep him. But they were also like, we'll give him 2 to 3 years, see if we can get past all these sanctions, and then we'll go get our next guy. I just don't think they were planning on doing that after National Signing Day in 2025, after 2 years.
I think at least at the beginning, the players really liked him, from my understanding, and I think that they were waiting on a reason to find somebody else, because I don't think he was ever a full, like you said, I don't think he's ever a full term deal. But they had people in their ear, and they wanted the fans and the players to to have somebody that, like, a culture guy that they wanted to play for, and I think that they were waiting on a reason, and boy, did they get it. So
yeah, absolutely not sure. Like I said, if we should talk about everything that happened, because we could maybe get in trouble. I don't know. Not a legal expert, and also your job
allegedly,
your job may not like it. My job may not like it either, but your job specifically may not like it.
Hey, look, here's the deal. We talked about this before the show. Look, I love my job. So here's the thing. We're not going to dive into this specific, but here's the deal. I think that what needs to be discussed is that when this came out, I texted you and I was like, look, we got to do this show.
Yeah.
We've been putting this off for too long. It's time. So, hey, Coach Moore, if you want to know anything, if you motivated someone,
you're welcome on the show.
You motivated me, Coach Moore.
You do have a lot of free. Well, I don't know if you have a lot of free time coming up, but you may not be free. I have no idea with everything that went on. But let's keep the butter churning here and talk about some coaching candidates. Coach Kalen DeBoer is just another head coach for Alabama, but the top candidate for every major job opening. I don't really think it's happening. I know people believe it could. Maybe it does. My personal opinion, I don't know if I've told you this. If him and his agent is Jimmy Sexton, so it would be a Jimmy Sexton thing to do. If they're trying to just get a raise, I would call the bluff from Alabama. I wouldn't give him the extension. I like Coach DeBoer, but I think you got to win an SEC championship or a couple playoff games before you can do that. I would call the bluff. And then other names, there's Kenny Dillingham. I've seen where they're working on an extension for him at Arizona State, but it hasn't been announced, as far as I know. So maybe he is the guy at Michigan. He's an Arizona State guy, though, so that's tough. I've seen Jed Fish, but not much lately. People brought up Eli Drinkowitz again. I really don't know who it could be, though. This is a very interesting coaching search. Yeah,
I had a lot of ideas with like, for example, I was sold on James Franklin Auburn. I think that was that was a good fit. But I don't know what happened there. I had ideas on the Florida thing. I didn't think Lane was going there. I thought it was either LSU or bust for him. But with the Michigan coaching search, I don't know who would fit there and who they would go get.
Maybe you can go get Jesse Menner, who was there with Harbaugh. He's the defensive coordinator with Harbaugh in LA now. That's weird because the NFL schedule, and then you have the transfer portal opening up, which is what we're going to talk about in just a minute. Just some quick thoughts on it. But maybe Jesse, I don't know. I think it's an interesting spot. They've said they want their coach in before the portal opens up, which makes perfect sense. I just don't know yet. I don't have sources. Maybe you have sources I don't know about, but I don't. So I have no idea.
No, and that's the thing. Most schools, I think Penn State is kind of mainly the only one that didn't know. But my opinion is, if you're going to fire your coach, and once again, Michigan is an exception because there was a situation there. But if all these schools that are firing their coaches, I think if you're going to fire your coach in this era, you need to know who's coming in the door. And I think that a lot of schools have set themselves up for failure. And a lot of coaches are taken. So Michigan's kind of in a weird spot.
They are, and like I said, they want the job filled before the transfer portal, which we'll quickly now talk about. Just whatever thoughts we want. I think the calendar is a little off for college football, but I understand the issue because currently these guys are still technically student athletes. So when you're opening a transfer portal, it's supposed to open up and close for the start of a spring semester. However, the way they've changed it, that even interferes with the spring semester. But just in general, we'll talk about some quick thoughts about the transfer portal. What do you have there? We'll be
breaking news, right?
Okay.
TJ Finley.
I got you. Hang on. I didn't show you this one. I don't know if I got. Let me see. Where's that? But
You got a surprise for me?
There you go.
What we got? Let's go. Breaking news. Let's go. Yeah, so TJ Finley, transfer portal. Hey, surprise,
time to be a
surprise.
father.
Okay, so I almost went and got a bag of like a McDonald's bag because it just it's time, bro. Like get a job. It's not working for you. Has he had success anywhere he's played?
No, it's hard for me to say it though because neither have I. He has played college football.
100%. Like I'm just a guy talking to a computer.
1-4 as a starter at Georgia State. He's played at LSU, I almost said Alabama, LSU, Auburn, Western Kentucky. He's at Georgia State for 2 years, but one of those years he was injured and missed the full year, and that is why he is filing a waiver to get another year. That's a fun story. Of course, a lot of transfer. One name I'll quickly bring up is DJ Lagway hit the portal. Sounds like that was more of a I say Tulane, but John Summerall and staff met with Lagway and they kind of said, "Hey, yeah, you're not guaranteed the starting job here. So if you want to stay, you can, but we won't blame you if you left." And then he said, "Okay, I'm leaving." So that's the big name, and I imagine we'll get some pretty big names coming soon. Portal doesn't.
You got a prediction on the DJ Lagway land?
Everybody's predicting LSU to land a big quarterback. So, I mean, maybe. I could see Baylor because Baylor, I believe, needs a starting quarterback, and he's from Texas. They're one of the I believe, out of all the big Texas schools, maybe TCU then, because I think TCU's quarterback's graduating as well. He is from Texas. I can see that if he wants to go back home. And then I've also seen, I believe, Louisville tied to him. I could be wrong with that. Maybe I'm misremembering, but that'd be an interesting fit.
Is Byron Brown to Auburn a lot?
I don't know. He sat out his bowl game tonight.
Yeah. Well, that's what I could see a DJ to Auburn if Byron Brown's not coming.
Potentially, yeah. Could be an option for sure. Portal, of course, doesn't the portal doesn't officially open until the 1st of January, but when a school fires their coach, you're allowed a certain number of days to enter the portal. And then when they hire a new coach, you are allowed to as well if you don't gel with the staff. So, like, for example, like when Virginia Tech fired Brent Pry, who's now their defensive coordinator, I know that's weird. You could have technically entered the portal the day after Brent Pry got fired. And if you'd play less than 4 games, you could hit your red shirt and then commit to another school right then, set out a year, commit to a school, use your red shirt, and it's like you played just 3 games for that school if you have a red shirt. That's a kind of a unique rule there, which is why the Oklahoma State tight end was able to commit to Alabama, by the way, a couple days ago.
Let's go.
Because he had a coaching change. People say, well, I thought the portal wasn't open. That is why. But there you go.
You Cowboys. That's what they say.
Yeah, we got to take our shirts off and start swinging them.
Yeah, that's right. I spent some time in Oklahoma. That's how I got that all the time. OSU Cowboys. That's right.
There you go. All right. Any final thoughts, or do you like to? We can finish this up by predicting our playoff bracket.
No, let's do it. I know, especially SEC fans or Alabama fans. I know the perspective is because we have less success than we have in the past. That every Alabama fan hates the portal, and I'm sure that there's some truth to that. But I just think for the sake of college football, the yearly free agency is just a problem. And I think that I don't know how you govern it, but I think that there's got to be a solution.
I think that CBA I mentioned could be an option. and that's something we'll talk about maybe the next episode. We can make it a topic then. That'd be fun. So I'll write it down. But let's pick the games. Would you like to go from top of the bracket down, or do you want to go from 4, 3, 2, 1? What do you want to do?
Let's go to the top.
Okay, so we'll go top down. So first off is going to be, we both have Oregon, the 5 seed, taking on 4-seeded Texas Tech in this game. I think you could potentially look up this line, but I honestly don't know what it would be if you did look it up.
Yeah.
But where's this game being played? Do you know off the top of your head?
It's the Orange Bowl, so
it's Miami. That is correct. So Oregon's got to fly all across the country for this game. Who do you have in this game? We can just be kind of quick if you want to give a reason, because once these games actually happen and they're not hypotheticals, we'll do probably a deeper dive into the game.
right.
But maybe a quicker thoughts. We're thinking this is a definite game, but probably just a quick thought and a quick pick here between Oregon and Texas Tech.
Yeah, really quick. I think it'd be cool for us to predict what the spread would be if whoever we pick to win.
You can do that. Absolutely. I'm bad at those, but
I'm out. I think Texas Tech. I mean, I think they're scary. I mean, they have that Texas oil money, so they're always they're about to be relevant for a long time. I like Texas Tech in this game.
Yeah, I do like what you said about the oil money, by the way. I think that is something that could be a benefactor for Texas. I think it will be for sure. But with them being in the Big 12, kind of a weaker conference. No,
the gap. There's a big gap there.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say that Texas Tech, if you go by kind of the the FEI ratings, Texas Tech has the second best defense in the country behind Ohio State. They're at 1.04, while Ohio State's at 1.05. So that's the second best team, and that's supposed to account for quality of opponent as well, by the way. So it's not just, I get it. Texas Tech they definitely played a weaker schedule than Ohio State did and some other teams, but that's supposed to account for, adjusting for opponent talent and stuff. I thought you were going to take Oregon, honestly, because I'm also taking Texas Tech to win this game. I picked Texas Tech to go to the semifinals. I don't dislike Oregon. I just really believe in Texas Tech, and I think that month off, they're going to be determined to prove themselves. Fun fact, and I know I've said we'll be quick and I'm rambling. If Oregon were to play in the national championship, and I'm going to bring it up because I don't think they'd win this game or against Texas Tech, they'd have to fly to Miami, and I believe their semifinal game would be in Atlanta. So they go from Oregon to Miami, back to Oregon, then to Atlanta, back to Oregon. If they won, they'd go to the national championship game in Miami.
That's
a lot of travel.
Yeah, it is. It is the Peach Bowl.
So that is a lot of traveling for Oregon if they win. But I'm picking Texas Tech. We'll move on. We both picked Alabama against Indiana. Who do you have in this game? This is the Rose Bowl.
I think Alabama can beat anyone once. I don't think Alabama can put together 4 games. I think we match up well against Indiana, but at the end of the day, there's a consistency issue, and I don't think that you fix that overnight. I probably have to take the Hoosiers if they match up, unfortunately.
I think Kurt Cignetti, even without a national championship this year, is maybe one of the best. Say maybe. No, he is one of the best stories in college football history. If he wins one, it might be the best story coming from where he did at his age. And he said, just give me average resources and I'll win. And he has backed up every single thing he said. It's
Correct.
Incredible. I want to pick Alabama, but I just could not. I did see someone say Indiana would be a 7-point favorite over Alabama. I don't know where that was listed, but they said Indiana would be listed as a 7-point favorite over Bama.
Give me the spread. Give me the
that
spread.
Would change, I think, before that game got played. But they said right now, I think it was FanDuel said it would be a 7-point spread. Indiana, according to that FEI stat, they're the best team in the country in terms of opponent adjusted efficiency. They're ranked 1. Ohio State's 2, by the way, but Indiana was ranked 1. Moving on to the next game, Georgia against Ole Miss, a rematch where it was one of the better games of the year. I thought Ole Miss just couldn't stop Georgia, and Georgia got a couple stops in the fourth quarter. They couldn't stop them for 3 quarters. but they got 2 stops in the fourth. I think it might have been 3, if you want to count the end of the game. But Ole Miss couldn't stop Georgia. Now they play in a semifinal, or excuse me, quarterfinal. My apologies, their quarterfinal game. This game would be in New Orleans, I believe.
Yeah, I think the big break kind of gives all other 11 teams a big break with Georgia because they were steaming for a while. Even in the Georgia Tech game, I never felt like there was a chance that they were going to lose that game. I felt like they were in control the whole way. I know the score didn't reflect that, but so the break might kind of cool them off again a little bit. So I'm going to take Georgia. I'm still going to take Georgia. I think that they're the best team in the nation right now, personally, and they've only gotten better as the season has went on. So I like Georgia. I mean, I think Ole Miss comes out and plays hot. I think I think Ole Miss is like weirdly a Cinderella, even though they're 11-1 in the SEC. They shouldn't be a Cinderella.
Yeah,
but
my thoughts on Ole Miss depends on what they look like against Tulane. Are they going to come out super motivated or not, or are they going to let the distractions distract them? I'm going to take Georgia. I think either way, it just depends on how I feel about taking Georgia in that game. Moving on, this is the one game we have different. You have Miami against Ohio State. I have Texas A&M against Ohio State. So Miami or Ohio State.
Yeah, I think Ohio State wins comfortably. They're a pro style team, and they like when I watch them, they're one of those teams like I fall asleep watching them because they literally beat people to sleep.
And that's how they prefer to win too. That's a compliment how they play.
That's what I'm saying. Like they look like an NFL team. Like they're just so well rounded. They're going to check it down.
They will dominate
it for 6 yards
this year.
Yeah. Oh, it's not even. It's insane. But I mean,
and
I think Ohio State
27 draft as well because Jeremiah Smith's not eligible. Neither is Julian.
That's insane. By the way, he would be the first pick probably. I would think
he would have been the first pick last year. So I'm with you there. I took Ohio State as well to beat A&M, not Miami. We'll see which game we actually talk about because we don't know which one it is yet. But took Ohio State. I do think they win comfortably, whatever you want to call it. I do think Ohio State wins the game. So now we have both Texas Tech against Indiana. We actually have the same Final Four. Texas Tech against Indiana. You have?
I gotta take Indiana, man. They've shown themselves. They just look complete, and you can't bet against Kurt Cignetti, as they say. So,
okay. Once you picked Texas Tech, I knew we were probably taking the same team. I thought you might take Oregon to get here, and then I wasn't sure if you would take Oregon over Indiana in a rematch. I took Indiana as well, and I think I don't want to say comfortably because I don't think they're blowing them out by any means in this situation, but I do think it's not a stressful fourth quarter, but it's not a comfortable fourth quarter, if you know what I mean, like a 10-point type game, 13-point game. Moving on, last semifinal game, Ohio State, Georgia. We might differ here.
Man, I'm torn on this one. I think I could flip a coin for it to pick for me. Go for it.
I'm taking Ohio State to win this game, and it's no offense to Georgia. I think if there's a coach that can adjust to a pro-style defense, it is Kirby Smart. I think he's the best coach in the country right now. Well, Kurt Cignetti has vastly risen that ranks, but I think Kirby Smart earns a lot of credit there. But I'm taking Ohio State just because you mentioned it, a pro-style team. I think they're basically an NFL team in the college level right now. So I took Ohio State.
Yeah, I think the safe bet is to take Ohio State. Like they look.
Really thought
just
you'd take Georgia.
Complete. But I think I'm going to take Georgia. Let's take Georgia. Oh. Yeah. I think I like Ohio State. They're a pro team, but I think that Georgia, I think they're just getting better, and they're only going to get better. So,
Georgia. Okay. So now your national champion between Georgia and Indiana is?
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Oh. So we both had Indiana making it, and we both had Indiana losing because I have Ohio State winning the national championship. I told a group of you that I think the worst thing that could happen is Indiana beats Ohio State in the Big Ten championship because I don't think Ohio State loses twice this year. Maybe I'm wrong. I think if Ohio State won the Big Ten championship, I might have picked someone else, but I am picking Ohio State because they lost that game, and I think it's going to kind of motivate them like the Michigan loss did a year ago. And I don't want Ohio State to win it. But I am picking Ohio State to win it. So
That's how I feel like the Georgia Ohio State game. Like, I'm like, can I say or? Can I pick or?
So you're picking whoever wins the Georgia Ohio State to win it. Essentially, okay, that's fair enough, and we'll preview it and we'll get more into it at the time. But I think we're about ready to wrap this up. This first first video. Of course, the race to 10 subscribers is on now. Got to get to 10. We're trying to get double digits.
If we get the whole group chat subscribed, we'll have like what 8?
Yeah, we have 0 right now because we haven't actually posted a video yet. But any final thoughts before you get out of here and take care of your kid?
For real. No, thank you for your time, dude. This is awesome. I'm excited to be doing this, and I'm excited to see how these games play out. I'm a little nervous, but it's gonna be fun to me this time.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun, and we're not sure when we'll be back. I don't know if we have a consistent schedule, but we will try our best. I'd, of course, as you know, do radio, so it depends on how many games I have a week, but I will have a few week break. There you go. Saturday I have a game, and then I don't have another game till January. So I do have a few weeks where I don't have anything going on at night. I'm very boring, so I can do.
Let's go. No.
But that was a fun first episode. Thanks for tuning in. For the 3 of you that probably watched when this thing is posted, but eventually we'll get to like 7 viewers, and then maybe 10 one day. Who knows?
Let's go.
It's a lot of fun to the currently named Jon and Trent show. Maybe we'll come up with a better name as well. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll be back eventually.
All right. See you guys. Thank you.